All right. Joining me now is Lindsay from ezyCollect. We're going to overview why every wholesaler in Australia really should be using this product. Lindsay, if you can I get you to answer these 5 questions during your little talk? What is the problem that you actually solve for wholesalers? If there's anything that basically identifies the sort of customers that really should be engaging with you. Are there any particular demographics or psychographics that help identify who you can help? I'd love you to talk about the sort of companies that you're already working with in this space. I know you guys have over 1,000 clients in that space now. So
yeah, we do.
Love you to talk about some of that. And then obviously the big question for everyone is the budget investment proposition.
So the first problem that we solve for our wholesalers is to automate the routine activities in accounts receivable management to reduce costs and improve productivity. The kind of identifiers we would typically be looking at with someone we would engage with would be taking too long to collect the money that they're owed, impacting their cash flow and operating capital for growth. Growing business that have a long list of debtors and invoices and they've outgrown a manual or a legacy system. Another would be wasting hours each day and week chasing payments, taking them away from revenue generating activities. And the final would probably be financial controllers who've lost sight of the debtor management activities, who owes them money, how much, what their last action to take to collect would be, and just other things that get lost in the fray through administratively laborious activities.
Can I just jump in at that point? So what you're saying is anyone with any number of customers who owe them money on trade terms are probably a good customer for you guys.
Absolutely. Just to absolutely simplify it, you bet. Anyone who's doing business on account.
Yeah, awesome. And basically cash is king, so this is driving one of the key parts of every business.
Certainly is, absolutely.
Yeah.
If cash is king, then cash flow is the entire monarchy.
I like it. You've said that before.
I did. So the kind of demographics and psychographics that identify who we would best help would be a growing business that have a very small AR team. One or more persons that are following up on overdue accounts. ezyCollect really helps streamline everyone's activities and gives them an audit trail really that helps the whole team's workflow so people can work across each other's pipeline. Businesses that issue a certain amount of invoices, say, at least maybe 150 or more invoices a month, are really truly a sweet spot for us. And anyone over, say, 100 debtors a month would really fall into a category of where we'd be finding high value proposition from our wares.
Awesome.
Just to chunk it down for you a little bit, wholesalers and distributors, make up a huge portion, a large majority of what we have as well. And I'll actually show you a little bit of graphic on just as to the distribution of our customer acquisition, and just so you can reinforce exactly what that looks like. Let me just skip through just for 1 second. And this will actually knock it off for you. So as you can see, wholesale trade makes up a huge portion of our customer demographic. Over 1,100 customers we currently have across ANZ as we speak. As you will see, a big portion of that, also 16.4% as we take, is manufacturing.
Awesome. So between those two, we got 36.5%, which is our target audience for the Apps4 Wholesalers show. The smack being, more than a third of your clients are in that space. So
exactly
totally
right.
Get it.
That's right. Absolutely. So the kind of brands and companies we can help, well, you could probably imagine we work with anyone from, very, very large scale manufacturing, huge FMCG clients, spice manufacturers, wholesale product goods, fast moving perishables, all the way down to large, fastenings, just to give you some understanding of kind of the reach we have. I could be rattling off, another 1,100 customers for you.
Yeah. But look, everyone tends to talk about their big customers, but we don't want to scare off the smaller firms as well, because at the end of the day, accounts receivable is such a critical function. And I'm sure you've got the mum and dad zero users who are using your product as well, right?
We certainly do. We've got a lot of customers. Just mum and pop shop where, anyone from, really small banana bread wholesalers, small coffee distributors, and they make up actually a huge bulk of that percentage that you're seeing there on screen.
Awesome. Do you want to give us a quick overview of key features of the product and how it helps?
Certainly. So just in very high level, what we can help with on the various planar of accounts receivable, credit checks. We can also help with messaging, thank you messaging. We plug very automatically into your account system, so the actual setup process is very minimal. We have a fully robust and dynamic workflow that can be augmented to suit not just one customer list, but multiple customer lists, variant by segment. We can granularize that as much as you want and split that down via different databases, geolocation, segments, products, what have you, to get the right messaging to the right clientele, so we can improve the entire response chain from all this automation, get you paid a lot faster. We can, on that note as well, help streamline the entire transactional process as well with an inbuilt payment system that I'll touch on in a little bit as well. We can also help you for further dunning procedures. Just a quick statistic about us: in 93% of all the collections will be usually brought in by our system within the 4th reminder. So whenever you schedule that chain, whatever makes sense via the credit term of that particular business. But in the rare instance that it doesn't, we certainly help ongoing with a further dunning procedure. So for example, if you do need to raise something to a demand letter stage or a final notice, or further to an outside debt collector, our system will be able to do that for you in a heartbeat. Luckily, it's a 2-click process rather than 2 hours of administration for your AR team.
And you guys supply the legal and debt collection services, right, at the click of a button?
Yes, absolutely. We partner with Australian Recovery and Mercantile Agency, but we can partner with whomever the client would prefer.
Right. But if they use your services, like they don't have a service at the moment, out of the box, they get access to those services at the click of a button, basically.
That's exactly right. That's
awesome
right.
Stuff.
And yeah, it's all seamlessly integrated, so it's very, it's low on the onerous scale, if you will, in terms of plugging and playing.
Awesome.
Let me flick on through. Go ahead. You were going to ask me a question.
I was just going to say, this isn't batch driven. This is all automated, right? This is 2019. The systems are sending out these reminders, be it via email or SMS, etc.
Exactly right. And what's so stand out and what differentiates us the most in any automation market that you may be looking at to plug and play, many ERPs and accounting softwares that we already integrate with do have a very rudimentary form of automation. And what distinguishes us the most is that our system has an AI protocol that pulls all the overdue invoices together and consolidates them and chases them in a very smart and targeted way, rather than chasing on a per invoice basis, which unfortunately all other automation platforms succumb to that problem. Why that is such a problem is because if you chase on a multi-invoice basis on each individual level, you will often overpopulate the amount of correspondence to each customer very quickly, especially if they have multiple overdues. And that can really affect the relationship.
Have the opposite effect. Basically, they don't want to pay you and they don't want to deal with you because they get annoyed.
Exactly.
Totally
it is the bell curve of engagement.
You start spamming them, and so it has the opposite effect. So yeah, totally get it.
Exactly.
All right, keep moving.
Something that's brand new that we haven't touched upon yet, but we are partnering with Ilion, which is formerly Dun & Bradstreet, on a very significant piece in customer onboarding. Now, this is currently beta tested with over 50 of our clients, and it's due for release this quarter. What it is a system for bringing on prospective customers without having to seek a very difficult and what is time-consuming process in terms of trade references. So trade references can be a very difficult process because there has to be a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of manual communications, often driven by the accounts team themselves as well, at point of contact and point of prospect. What our system will be able to do is read all the data historically from Ilium on a certain contact via its ABN or ACN, and it will start building a hygiene report for you on whether or not you should extend a line of credit to that customer. So as you can see here, a few drafts, and the detail that makes that up is very significant. It is things like commercial defaults, bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy, any receivership, voluntary or involuntary administrations, any court injunctions or action that's been against the company, constant change of leadership, constant change of ABN and ACN. All these things will be made up and that will benchmark as to exactly what the risk profile will be to extend a line of credit to that particular customer. And that can happen pre the date of them being a customer to you.
So the idea behind this is basically not dealing with customers who aren't going to pay their bills.
Exactly.
So often over the years, I've seen new customers come along and get a whole heap of stock and then not actually pay for it, whereas this would point you in the direction that this customer may be a risk of that.
Exactly. You said it better myself. You should have done that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And as you can see, as just to touch upon the prospective basis of it, in its simplest form, this is truly what it delivers for you. You punch in the ABN and ACN, it reads it immediately. As you can see here, it'll show you the failure to risk as a business and also the late payment risk, and then benchmark that with its industry average. Quite simple.
Awesome stuff.
All right, so our system in terms of the payments, and I did touch upon this earlier, but we do hub a payment gateway for each customer as well. So they will be able to come in here and actually see everything they owe you. A little bit about what we were talking about when we're consolidating all invoices at once. We chase from the eldest invoice, but leave everything else here so the customer can see in blank terms exactly what they need to pay you in a rolling balance.
I know you integrate with a number of the desktop products as well, right? So this gives them an online portal for their invoices and their payments, even if it's a desktop accounting system.
Exactly right. If there is no current e-payment gateway, we can facilitate that, especially for their credit card payments. We do have partners that we can utilize for direct debit payments as well to close that loop for you. But as you see here, there's many things you can do. You can pay all at once. There are flexible payments. You can actually augment any of these payments, so at least the buyer is engaging in the process. And we found through all our data and diagnostics over 740,000 different touch points, our customers, that there's two main factors that we look at with buyer behavior and purchasing behavior. And one is the most countable reason that anyone will evade any of your correspondence or just be a difficult or late payer is because they don't have the full credit facility to be able to pay you. And the second was they don't feel that the payment arrangements are flexible enough or they're too difficult a process for them to make payment.
I hear this leading to your little squares down the bottom there that look to me like a zip pay or an afterpay. So you guys are offering your customers the equivalent of a zip pay or afterpay built into their trade credit terms.
Precisely what it is. It is a promise to pay or a late pay facility that we will assure them to get paid in full. It is driven by our partner Envigo for this one, and the terms are very minimal. It is a 10% down payment on whatever the transaction amount is, as in a deposit, and then it's just a 1% loading fee by a further extra percentage loading fee per 30 days they would like to extend the term. So it's
and who's paying that? Is that your customers or is the customers of the customers who are paying those terms?
Our customers that will be liable for that. It is an unsecured loan with Envigo. It is an incredibly quick sign-up process, just a quick 4-field sign-up, and all they need to do is step through that very quickly, and they will have approval within an hour.
And importantly, your customers get paid in full. That's what you're saying here. They're getting paid, right. And it's costing them nothing to offer this to their customers. And if the customers are suited by it, they're able to offer this. effectively, as I said, the afterpay style service to the customers of your customers.
Precisely.
Awesome stuff.
Exactly. That's right. And very, very simply, our system will also track all that, and any unused monies from that secured loan will be able to be used within the gateway to repurchase at a later date.
Awesome.
Which is very handy. Just a little bit about where we started, just to sign things off. And I know that this is a little bit backwards, but we started as ourselves a wholesale and distribution business in Western Sydney. That was a medical and latex manufacturer, and our CEO AJ was running the business quite successfully. And so he felt the exact inherent problems of our wholesale market that we currently drive towards now. The big reason that this business even started in the first place is because he, whilst running a very successful company and scaling 3 times the volume of business he was doing when he purchased the company originally within a 5-year period, he found that actually getting what he was owed was one of the most difficult chores, and he looked at everything, whether it be factored invoicing, taking out overdraft accounts and other credit facilities, just to make his cash flow, something that he could use and scale his business. He found so many man hours were going into that, and it'd be such a difficult process. So when he finally sold that business quite successfully, he thought, before I get into another business, I absolutely need
to solve this
figure
problem.
out this process.
Love it.
And and because of that, he had a few friends that were investors that thought, we can't just, leave this for ourselves. This is too good. The entire Australian market does need to get this benefit. So that's where we fruited from, and that's the real
Awesome.
drive force behind our business.
Well, I'm going to ask you to wrap up by talking us through, what's the investment? What's this going to cost me if I'm a wholesale stock distribution business, as far as to make it worth my while to do it?
So as you can see, we integrate with many different platforms. Depending on your platform and depending on the sophistication of what will be required for each of the integrations, will give you a fairly good indication of your pricing start points. But as you can see, for our cloud-hosted space, our Essentials account write lives, zeros and desktops, anyone could assume an investment of, say, $125 as a starting point. For our larger ERP softwares, you'd be looking at roughly $395 as a starting point for a small team with a small databases.
Awesome stuff. And look, I know you've added a couple of extra products recently, like Attaché and Pronto, and you're sort of growing your integrations all the time. But I'm imagining those will be at a similar price point to the Exos and the Advanced, those sorts of things.
Yeah, they certainly are. That's right. Yeah. And it's scalable per platform. I mean, we look at the main driving factors to price you accurately would be the amount of debtors you would invoice on a monthly basis, the amount of active debtor accounts, and also how many administrative users you would use.
The key point I'm getting here is, it's a cost of an administrator a day and a half a month, basically, and I get a system that's going to automate a lot of what they would have done in a day and a half. So Absolutely. It's a pretty easy investment proposition when you weigh it up against the cost of staff from my perspective.
Exactly.
And the cost of overdrafts and the cost of credit cards and all those things that come when you're running short on cash. So
exactly, we were all factored in. Every one of those facilities is a little bit more, at least, expensive than we are.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, Lindsay, I really appreciate taking the time today. That's been a great overview. How do people get in touch? How do we reach out to ezyCollect?
The easiest way is directly through our website. In fact, you can book on an appointment at your own leisure, and one of our very well-trained service staff will be on to you immediately. You can come through our website, have a direct chat through our website as well if you'd like to have a live chat and just ask a few things before you get a full demonstration. and we can
And
follow
look,
up.
make sure you mention Apps for Wholesalers, because they'll look after you even extra, especially well on that way through. I know the team there, they do very well. They've got lots of happy customers, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about them over the next few years. Awesome, Lindsay. Thank you so much for your time.
One last thing, just to let you know how happy our customers truly are. Our retention rate for wholesale and manufacturing distribution is 99.8%. The only problem I ever had is getting my software back from our customers.
Awesome stuff. Well, 99.8%, that means you're also reducing the failure rate of businesses at that sort of retention rate, right? So that's awesome stuff. Thanks so much, Lindsay. Really appreciate your time, and thanks again to the guys at ezyCollect for supporting the Apps for Wholesalers event.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome
Thanks
stuff.
for the Apps for Wholesalers event.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
See ya.